For most of us, comedy looks like a world built on laughs, timing, and clever punchlines. Behind the curtain, the funniest people on earth aren't always laughing. Like any other industry, this one's also entangled in rivalries, bruised egos, and creative clashes that never see the light of day. Your favorite comedians may be landing a punch backstage right before they cleverly land everyone's favorite jokes on the stage. These are 10 feuds between comedians that prove that even humor has a breaking point. Number 1, John Lovitz versus Andy Dick. John Lovitz and Andy Dick maintained one of the most dramatic feuds in comedy history. Lovitz had long blamed Dick for contributing to the tragic death of their mutual friend, Phil Hartman, claiming that Dick supplied Hartman's wife, Bryn, with cocaine at a Christmas party in 1997, led to a relapse and ultimately to Hartman's murder-suicide in 1998. When Lovitz joined News Radio as Hartman's replacement, tensions were bound to grow. In early 2007, Dick allegedly approached Lovitz and said, "I put the Phil Hartman hex on you. You're the next to die." On July 10, 2007, at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles, Lovitz demanded an apology, which Dick proudly refused. Lovitz was not having it, and it escalated to Lovitz smashing Dick's head into the bar. The feud combined resentment, grief, and a public altercation, and showed how a personal tragedy can fuel lifelong bitterness, even amongst the people that make everyone laugh. Number 2, Jay Leno versus Conan O'Brien. Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien became locked in one of late-night television's most notorious disputes in show business. In 2009, O'Brien took over as the host of The Tonight Show after Leno stepped aside due to a prior agreement. However, when Leno's primetime shows faltered and NBC affiliates complained of low ratings, the network proposed shifting Leno back to 11:35 p.m. and moving The Tonight Show to 12:05 a.m., which O'Brien publicly rejected. Feeling the franchise was being undermined, O'Brien declined to continue under the new terms and departed the network in January 2010 with a multi-million-dollar settlement. Leno then returned to The Tonight Show until 2014. Their conflict remained an institutional power struggle involving contracts, ratings, and network politics. Number 3, Joe Rogan versus Carlos Mencia. Joe Rogan and Carlos Mencia clashed publicly over allegations of intellectual theft. Rogan accused Mencia of plagiarism and confronted him on stage at the Comedy Store in 2007 after repeatedly raising the issue in posts on his website. Rogan introduced Mencia on stage as Menstelia and later posted audio and video comparisons of alleged stolen bits. The incident triggered a backlash, as a result of which Rogan was banned from the Comedy Store temporarily, while Mencia's reputation took a major hit. The feud highlighted how seriously the stand-up community treats originality and how public attacks over material can have significant career consequences. Number 4, Mike Myers versus Dana Carvey. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, once collaborators on the beloved Wayne's World films and castmates on Saturday Night Live, drifted apart over creative credit and character ownership. Carvey believed that Myers lifted Carvey's impression of producer Lorne Michaels and transformed it into the iconic Dr. Evil character in the Austin Powers films. Carvey also felt undercredited for his contributions to their shared film successes. While the details vary, the resulting estrangement lasted many years before a partial reconciliation. Number 5, Dave Chappelle versus Key and Peele. Dave Chappelle openly expressed hurt feelings toward the sketch comedy show Key and Peele, which he claimed used a format he'd pioneered. In a 2016 live statement at the Roots Picnic Festival, Chappelle said, "Put some respect on my name." Later in an interview, he explained to CBS that when he created his own show, Chappelle's Show, he fought the network very hard to maintain longer-form sketches and push certain conventions. When he then saw Key and Peele using similar formats and credited themselves as creators, Chappelle admitted that hurt his feelings despite being a fan of their work. His grievances stem from under-recognition and artistic lineage. This shows the immense importance of crediting the real creators when it comes to any form of art, or frustrations among the artists become inevitable. Number 6, Larry the Cable Guy versus David Cross. The clash between Larry the Cable Guy and David Cross stemmed less from personal animosity and more from fundamentally different visions of comedy. Cross publicly criticized Larry's working-class character act and described it as a lot of anti-gays, racist humor. These remarks appeared in print around 2005. In turn, Larry fired back in his book Get Her Done, accusing Cross of elitism and of attacking a comic style that resonates with blue-collar audiences. Cross responded with an open letter in which he argued that Larry's act reinforces prejudice under the guise of authenticity. Though neither side mounted a dramatic onstage ambush, the exchange captured a deeper schism in stand-up. The feud thus reflects competing ideas of what comedy should do and whom it should serve. Number 7, Jon Stewart versus Marc Maron. Marc Maron has openly admitted that his long-standing tension with Jon Stewart had less to do with anything Stewart did and more to do with how Maron viewed Stewart's success. Maron stated, "Jon never did anything to me. I was just jealous." He explained that when they were both emerging comics, Stewart seemed to succeed everywhere Maron felt he was struggling, while Stewart exhibited discipline and mainstream access Maron lacked. The resentment built silently rather than erupting publicly, yet Maron says Stewart once told him bluntly, "There's no love here." Their relationship's interesting because it centers on envy, career trajectories, and internal competition rather than a dramatic betrayal. Stewart largely stayed silent, and the feud gradually faded away. Number 8, Arsenio Hall versus Jay Leno. The late-night rivalry between Jay Leno and Arsenio Hall was about perceived slights and status. Hall believed he'd been overlooked when Leno succeeded Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show and publicly declared in 1992 that he and Leno weren't friends. Hall suggested he'd earned his place but was passed over in network decision-making, while Leno claimed he harbored no ill will and the feud was silly. Nevertheless, Hall often voiced that the establishment favored Leno's safe-minded style over his own culturally charged talk show format. While the dispute didn't result in a legal battle or any public meltdowns, it stands as a notable example of late night's behind-the-scenes tension and how comedians view rankings, recognition in the spot they believe they deserve. Number 9, Judd Apatow versus Mark Brazil. In late 2001, television creator Mark Brazil initiated a heated email exchange with Judd Apatow that was later leaked online and is now remembered as the Grungies Flame War. Brazil claimed Apatow had stolen his idea for a sitcom about a rock band called the Grungies and used it on the Ben Stiller show in the early 1990s. The emails contained biting sarcasm and pointed accusations, and Brazil insisted he lost a deal because Apatow had ripped off his concept. Apatow claimed he didn't remember the incident, suggested the similarities were coincidental. The quarrel was an important marker of the line between inspiration and appropriation that is so very necessary in the behind-the-scenes world of television writers. Number 10, Eddie Murphy versus Bill Cosby. The long-standing tension between comedy icons Eddie Murphy and Bill Cosby is layered with generational shifts and changing cultural norms. Murphy has said that early in his career, Cosby called him to criticize his profanity-heavy stand-up, and Murphy felt singled out. By 2019, Murphy seized a spotlight hosting Saturday Night Live, joking that, "You told me 30 years ago I would be this boring, stay-at-home house dad, and Bill Cosby would be in jail. Even I wouldn't have taken that bet." Cosby's representatives fired back, calling Murphy a Hollywood slave for mocking him. The dispute spans decades and goes beyond personal frustrations to reflect the contrast between the older comedy guard versus newer voices. In the end, comedy isn't just about who delivers the best punchline, but is also shaped by the clashes that push performers to define themselves. These feuds tell us that even the funniest people wrestle with pride and pressure behind the scenes. If you enjoyed this deep dive into comedy's messiest battles, make sure to subscribe for more backstage visits where we unravel silent battles amongst your favorite TV stars.